when I really figured out, okay, this might be casual, first was when I said to him something like, oh, I mentioned to my mom that you said this. And he had this look of horror on his face. And he's like, you told your mom about me? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Michaela Up Close, a podcast where I overshare about my personal life and have unfiltered chats with comedians, friends, and experts on all kinds of juicy topics, usually related to relationships and dating. I'm Michaela Chung. I am a comedian, author, and someone who is not good at doing casual relationships, which I will talk about in this episode, talk about why, and also share some humiliating stories, because why the heck not? And I also catch up with comedian Jen Grant. So it's going to be a great episode. Very excited for this episode. First of all, we should cover what the heck is a casual relationship? Because I feel like there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of confusion. When I mentioned that I was doing this episode to some of my friends, male and female, they're like, well, what is the definition of a casual relationship? Well, luckily, there are a lot of articles out there defining them, more specifically telling women the rules of casual dating. Because I got a feeling that there are a lot of women out there who aren't following the rules. Very naughty. So I found this article on Women's Health magazine website. And it's called The 10 Rules of Casual Dating Every Woman Should Know. So I just want to touch on a few of the key points that I think really sum up what casual dating is. So first of all, keep a few people in the mix. So if you meet that special someone that you want to casually date, you're not done yet. You got to find more people. Find more people. And also, no future plans. So in the article, it says no plans beyond 1 or 2 days, which as a woman in my 30s, I think that's just crazy. I make plans with people. There's no one in my life that I wouldn't make plans beyond 1 or 2 days with. People are busy. We got a schedule. But casual relationships, I guess you got to be spontaneous. So another thing is no possessiveness. So in other words, you can't isolate them from their friends and family and all the things that bring them joy like you would in a marriage. No, can't do that in a casual relationship. You just got to be just free, let them do what they want. And you can do whatever you want as well. Okay, also, don't you dare try to bring them as a +1. Oh my God. No weddings, no family gatherings, no reunions. Just bring an escort instead. It'll be simpler. And finally, no personal favors, just sexual favors. So don't ask them to help you move or drive you to the airport or watch your cat, because God forbid you let them be nice to you and treat you like a human being. But I mean, honestly, these rules aren't surprising, but some of them I can see how there would be a lot of gray area and confusion, because it's well, there's so many other people that I would ask to drive me to the airport or watch my cat. It's I consider my relationship with my neighbor pretty casual. We barely talk to each other, but yet I could let them watch my cat, but not entrust my cat with someone who's seen my cat. That's dumb. You know what I mean? I don't even have a cat, but I'm offended by not being able to leave my hypothetical cat with the guy I'm casually dating, who is also hypothetical. I think a good rule of thumb is you can Netflix and chill, but no sharing your Netflix passwords with the person, because that's too intimate. Like, I see a casual relationship as kind of an extended one night stand. It's like when you go to cancel a subscription and then they offer you another month for free. And you're like, but I didn't even like the first month. But okay. And you just do it because you can and it's free. Also, another big rule, like an unspoken rule that wasn't mentioned in the article, but I think is very important, is no PDA. No public displays of affection in a casual relationship. So I think COVID has actually been really good for casual daters. It's like, sorry, babe, can't hold your hand, got to stay 6 feet apart at all times. Yeah, I think the real question is it ever really casual for women? And I know that's kind of like, that might sound sexist or something. And I'm totally generalizing. I'm thinking of like myself and the women I know. But I feel like women just getting ready for a date and sex is such an ordeal. You know, there's the tweezing and waxing, exfoliating, shaving. Like, we remove every hair and dead skin cell like we're scrubbing a murder scene. Because nothing says casual like going full Dexter before a date. Too bad most serial killers are straight white men, because I think women would be badass at it. And you might say, Michaela, you don't have to do all that stuff for a casual relationship. You can just like show up in your sweatpants or whatever. But you know what? I can't. Because here's something you should know about me. I am not good at doing anything casually. Like, to give you an example, I had to research how to dress casually when COVID started, because all my clothes were like going to brunch clothes, like tight jeans and blouses. And so I had to make a Pinterest board called Casual Cool Fashion. That's not very casual or cool. And, you know, another thing is, when I have people over, I always go over the top. I need to have everything like beautiful, a big grand charcuterie board and flowers and the house clean. And I have a lot of male comedians over, so it kind of makes them uncomfortable. They're like, this is cool, but where are the Doritos? I also have a habit of turning all my hobbies into careers, or just getting like really intense and competitive about them. Like, I did that with salsa dancing. You know, most people just salsa dance with their friends. They take a couple of lessons and do it every so often for fun. But no, I had to like join a performance team and perform in Puerto Rico and New York and compete and get all stressed out about it. I did that with comedy. You know, like I take comedy pretty seriously, and I'm trying to turn it into a career. So yeah, I'm not really a casual person, guys. But I did end up in a casual relationship in my mid-20s, but I didn't know I was in a casual relationship at first. Just to give you some background, the guy was, we'll call him Mo Touch, because we met at Touch nightclub, which should have been the first tip off that it was going to be a casual relationship. But anyways, Mo Touch was a sexy Saudi guy who was in Canada for school, studying at the university. And he had a lot of disposable income because the Saudi government gives students a lot of money as an allowance, or like a decent amount of money for a student for an allowance. And he loved to spend that money at the club. You know, he was a bit of what I call a bar star. He liked to get dressed up, have a beautiful girl on his arm, which for a while was me. Yay, what an honor. So he would like parade me around, buy me drinks. And he did introduce me to his friends, which I was excited about. I'm like, oh, he's introducing me to his friends. That means something. But now looking back, I can see that when they met me, they kind of looked through me. You know, they kind of looked at me like they weren't trying to remember my name. They're like, oh yeah, this is the flavor of the week sort of thing. They didn't really care. And we actually did go on dates, real dates. He took me to some nice dinners. He would wine and dine me. And because now I understand that there's a certain type of player who is like the seducer romancer, who loves the process of seducing someone and romancing someone. They love romance. So he enjoyed the fanfare and complimenting me and saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and making me feel so special, and like it was really romantic. Meanwhile, I didn't know that he was doing that with like 5 other women. So it took me a while to learn that those kind of men, it's not actually special, even though they make you feel special. Oh, the tough dating lessons that you learn in your 20s. But anyways, when I really figured out, okay, this might be casual, first was when I said to him something like, "Oh, I mentioned to my mom that you said this." And he had this look of horror on his face. And he's like, "You told your mom about me?" I'm like, "Yeah. I mean, I didn't say we were like engaged or whatever. I just mentioned you're in my life because you are." Anyways, that freaked him out. Another thing that freaked him out was when I said that he was the 3rd person that I'd ever slept with. So there was my husband, my boyfriend right after my husband, and then him. And he just looked very uncomfortable with that, as if he thought I was going to imprint on him and never let him leave, which was kind of the case, to be honest. No, it wasn't that bad, but I did get a bit attached. So, yeah. Another thing about him was that he was very close to his mom. He would talk to his mom, who was still in Saudi Arabia, every week on the phone, or every day on the phone, actually. And sometimes I was there when he was talking to her, and he would never mention me, would never mention I was there. She'd be like, "Oh, what's that sound? I hear someone in the background." He's like, "What? No one's here." "Oh, wait, you're still here. Yeah. Thought you left. Could you leave?" That was his level of caring about me. Oh my God. And the most embarrassing thing, I think, is I heard him use the word Habibi a lot. Habibi, if you don't know, is like an Arabic term of endearment. And he was calling all his friends Habibi, his roommate. And so one day I called him Habibi, and he got this really serious look on his face, as if I'd said, "I love you." And he's like, "Michaela, that's a really serious word. It's something you only say to the people you love." And I'm like, I just heard you say to the shawarma guy last night. Like, what the hell? He's like, "That's different. Those shawarmas are so good." Oh, yeah. That was actually, I laugh about it now, but there was a lot of shame in there. Like, I did feel really embarrassed because I was so innocent. I really, I hadn't dated that much. Again, I had been married in my early 20s. Then I had one boyfriend for like 8 months. And then I moved on to Mo Touch, the Saudi seducer player. I was not prepared for that. I was not prepared for that level of seduction, mind fucking. So when he really was like, "Oh my God, like, don't call me Habibi and don't tell your mom about me," and, just kind of got scared that I liked him even, I definitely felt embarrassed and kind of ashamed. But I think everyone has experienced that at some point. Long story short, in the end, he ghosted me, which isn't surprising. I got in one last, pathetic text message, "Why haven't you messaged me?" And he just kind of explained that, he wasn't looking for a relationship, and that was it. So now I just feel like I'm really not cut out for casual relationships. I mean, in the article by Women's Health magazine, it says, quote, "A girl has needs, and sometimes you just want to date and keep things casual." But to me, a girl having needs is why she probably doesn't want to keep things casual. It's like, try going up to a guy who doesn't want a relationship and saying, hey, I have a lot of needs. I don't think that'll be particularly appealing to him. And sure, I have sexual needs, but I also have emotional needs and dietary needs. Like if I stay over at a guy's house, I need breakfast in the morning. Even elementary schools serve breakfast. And Skylar, the part-time DJ I'm casually dating, can't throw me a piece of fruit in the morning. It's like, throw me some beets while you're throwing those beets, Skylar. And I'm vegan, so I can't just like pick up an Egg McMuffin on the way home. I have to plan ahead. Some women want somewhere to put their underwear and makeup. They want a drawer at their man's place. I just want a fridge drawer. Give me somewhere to put my cashew milk and hummus. That's all I ask. Actually, now that I think of it, vegans probably just aren't cut out for casual relationships. I mean, vegans aren't exactly known for being laid back. Let's face it. It's like the guy just wants to Netflix and chill. And I'm like, yeah, let's watch a documentary about factory farming and the slaughter of male chicks. That should put us in the mood for some casual sex. And don't worry, I brought snacks, brought my own Tupperware container full of food. That's sexy, right? Just bringing a Gladware container full of quinoa. Honestly, the real reason that I can't do casual relationships is I have too many daddy issues. Too many daddy issues. I feel like one night stands really trigger my fear of abandonment. Like if someone's going to leave me, I'd rather it's not right after they've seen me naked. It's almost like he's saying, it's not you, it's your vulva. That doesn't feel good. So I was thinking, based on past experience, you can technically do casual relationships if you have daddy issues, but you have to follow some different rules. So here are the rules of casual dating if you have daddy issues. You can do it if it's a travel romance, because then you can tell yourself he didn't call because he's on a different continent now. Also, have your therapist on standby. And don't bang your therapist. That's important. And finally, but very importantly, only do it if he's willing to meet your family, make future plans, and propose. So there you go. Yeah, because of the daddy issues, I think I just really want the validation from a man. I mean, sex is cool, but can you just like braid my hair and tell me you're proud of me? That's what I actually want. Another thing about casual relationships is the rules make it so that you never really feel fulfilled. I mean, I guess they're not meant to fulfill your every need, but you know, you always have to kind of restrain yourself and you can never have as much of them as you want. And I feel like I already have that kind of relationship with chocolate. Like I'm in a casual relationship with chocolate. I don't need that with a man. I think the real problem is that I'm a bit needy, but I feel like I have to hide that. I have to pretend that I'm not. And I blame it on Beyonce, you know, because of all this independent woman shit. And then also Disney, because Disney said the opposite. So it's really confusing as a woman. Like, I don't know whether to twerk in a camo bikini or go shack up with 7 dwarves. So I figure I'll just meet in the middle and become a dom to a codependent little person. That seems like the next best thing. Anyways, I want to make it clear because I know I can just see the comments flowing in like, she crazy. She's like level 5 clinger. Okay, fine. But before you judge me, I just want to make it clear that I'm not trying to lock down a man. That's not the thing. Like, it's not like I need to be engaged to someone. I'm trying to like find my soulmate husband, but I'm just trying not to feel like his tube sock. Like, I don't want to feel like someone's using me for sex. I mean, you can use me for other things. You can use me for emotional support, validation. And if you're a family man, you can maybe use me for my uterus, but not casual sex. That's where I draw the line. So speaking of this sex part of casual sex, I do wonder, like, how casual is casual sex? Because to me, the word casual means like lazy or unskilled. It's like if someone were to say, yeah, I play tennis casually. I'm not very experienced or good. The games don't last very long. And we never warm up beforehand. Well, that's not going to work for me because I like to be very warmed up, if you know what I mean. So for me, like, casual sex just doesn't sound that great. And in my experience, it isn't. I know that for other people it can be, and certainly both women and men can really enjoy casual sex, but I think it has its limitations. The other thing is, with all the rules of casual dating, like, I just don't think following rules is very sexy. It's not a turn on. Breaking rules is sexy. That's why people are really into like blasphemy porn and professor does his student, because people like the idea of breaking the rules. So I think we should go ahead and break the rules of casual dating, get really naughty and hold hands in public and go to a wedding and maybe meet each other's parents. I'll even call you Habibi. Why not? Let's just break all the rules. Yeah. I think something that comes up a lot for women is, probably some men too, is we end up getting attached. And there's real science behind it, because when women have sex, we release bonding hormones into our brain. And when men have sex, they release bonding hormones onto the sheets. So it's not quite the same. Like, we could go to bed with a guy who looks like Steve Buscemi, and then after sex, he looks like Thor. Because of the bonding hormones, they cloud our judgment. So it's just, it's kind of like dangerous in a way, because you could end up developing feelings for someone who you shouldn't, for whatever reason. For example, there was a girl that I worked with years ago at the bank, and she was in a casual relationship with this guy who she specifically chose because he was dumb. Like, in her words, she said he was too dumb to date. But he was like pretty nice to her and he was sexy. So they just had a casual relationship. And then guess what? She started developing feelings for him. And then she's stuck having feelings for this dumb guy that she doesn't really actually want to be in a relationship with. Another example, just the other week, I was talking with one of my girlfriends about how one of her friends is currently in a casual relationship with a guy. And I mean, in her words, he's kind of a loser. He's a pothead. He has a really messy home. He just never grew up. Also, he's a baby daddy. So he has this baby with another woman, and he's not a great dad. And they had this casual relationship, and then she started to develop feelings for him, but he's a loser. So she started like helping him out, because this woman is like a force of nature. She's really awesome. Like, she renovates houses and stuff. So she started fixing things around his house. She started shoveling his front steps. So she's not even becoming like his mom. She's becoming his dad. And it's just bad. Like, if she hadn't have had sex with him, she wouldn't have seen him in this way. She just wouldn't have. So that is the danger. Of course, it could go the other way, where it's just not enough. Like, you just don't even like them enough to continue having sex with them, which is an experience that I had. So there's only one other time that I was in a casual relationship, and this was a few years ago, where I was like, you know what the hell? Everyone else is having these casual relationships. I'll give it a try. So there was this guy that I'd been on a few dates with, and I didn't, feel a real strong connection, but, he was attractive enough, and he was nice, and I could tell he liked me enough that I wouldn't feel like used. So, which makes me sound like I'm using him, but whatever. So I tried to have a casual relationship with him, and then the first time we had sex, which was okay. It was just okay. It was like, whatever. It's technically you're not doing anything wrong, but for me, without the emotion of it, or without like a level of comfort or getting warmed up, it just doesn't really do it for me. It's not very satisfying. So afterwards, he took me to Three Brothers Shawarma and we sat on the patio in this really ugly part of town. And I just remember thinking like, oh, this feels so cheap. You know, like, yes, I'm a bit of a princess. You could at least take me to Shawarma Palace. So I just couldn't do it after that. It just left a bad taste in my mouth and I couldn't do it. But there are lots of movies about casual relationships where things just magically work out. And in the movies, they always end up together in the end. Like there's no strings attached with Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. In the end, they fall in love. Friends with Benefits with Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. Also, they have the happy ending where they fall in love. And okay, I think the really cool thing is that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, they knew each other because they starred in that 70s show together. And then years later, after they'd both done these casual relationship movies, they got together and had a casual relationship. And it's just because like she saw him at an awards show and she's like, that guy's hot. And then she realized it was Ashton. And so they started just having casual sex and then they fell in love. And now like they are married with kids. So I guess it works out for some people. I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse. But I think for the majority of people, it doesn't work out like that. I think a realistic casual relationship movie would be you end up getting attached and start asking, who the hell is this Robin person who keeps liking all your Instagram posts? And then you end things because it's not working, but you still have sex 1 or 21 more times just to make sure your self-esteem's really demolished. But you know what? It's okay because it all works out, if only for one person. And that person is your therapist because they are making a shit ton of money off of your pain. I think that sounds realistic. I don't ever want to see that. It's a little too real, but no, honestly though, I think casual relationships can be a good thing. I have a couple of guy friends who prefer casual relationships for different reasons. You know, they don't have the headspace for a real relationship. They're busy at work. They hate their mom. All kinds of reasons. And I do really feel like any relationship can work. Any kind of relationship. That's my philosophy. Whether it's a sugar daddy, sugar baby, or a marriage of convenience, or like last week we talked about age gap relationships, whatever it is, as long as both people want it and they feel like their needs are getting met, then that's cool. It works. It's great. But I personally want to be able to call someone Habibi. So it's not going to work for me. All right. Earlier in the week, I talked to an amazing comedian based in Ottawa named Jen Grant. She's an award-winning stand-up comedian. She's been nominated for several awards. She's also a dynamic keynote speaker. She's appeared on TV at every major comedy festival in Canada, including Just for Laughs. And she can also be heard on CBC's The Debaters. And she has her own TV special on the Comedy Network. How cool is that? So Jen and I chatted about her relationship with a fellow comedian and what it's like to be in a relationship with another comedian, how they met, and how they actually recently got engaged after 12 years together. We talk about a lot of other interesting stuff. So here's that chat. Yeah, so tell me how you and Julian met.
Okay, so we met 12 years ago, 12 and a half years ago. I guess it'll be 13 this fall. I was performing at Ottawa Yuck Yucks when it used to be on, why am I blanking? Albert Street. And I was emceeing and he came in, and of course I didn't know anything at this time, but he's told me that now, and came up to me after while I was emceeing and just came up and said, "Oh, you're really funny." And I was like, "Oh, you have really nice hair," because he has really nice hair. So I remember those lines because I thought, oh, he's got really nice hair. And he had just started doing stand-up, but I hadn't seen him. I was living in New York at that time. So I was in town working the club, visiting my family. And yeah, so we met at the club.
Hmm.
And after that, we just kept in touch. I'm always complaining about Facebook because it's such a, it can be such a time sucker, but I have to give it credit for keeping us messaging at that time. And really, without Facebook, it would have been hard to have a connection from New York and Ottawa. You know what I mean? Like,
So
you're not
did
going to
you
start texting or phoning somebody out of the blue, but you can kind of message each other on Facebook where it doesn't feel weird or too intrusive.
totally? So you hadn't started dating, then you moved to New York and you were just in touch on Facebook. So did the Facebook messages gradually get more romantic or what happened?
Yeah, actually, well, sort of more like flirty, but and you're not sure. When you first started dating and you don't really know, like, oh, maybe they're just, especially when you're younger, you're just like, oh, maybe they're just being nice to me. Yeah, right. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, that's why he was being, you know what I mean? Like, it's so obvious now when you get older, but at the time I was like, oh, maybe he's just like this with everyone, every comic. And yeah, so we were just like flirty through Facebook, and he had said some cute things like in his status about a show we had together, because we ended up having a show together a few months after that on New Year's Eve, because I was in Ottawa visiting my family for the holidays from New York. And
There's a
we
lot,
happened to
sorry,
be,
just gonna,
yes,
yeah, I'm hearing that like it sounds like the mic like coming
weird.
up against things.
Okay. Oh,
You
it's
might,
weird because I'm holding it out. Is that better now?
yeah, it's just at certain times. I'm not sure
I
what it
wonder
is,
if
but
it's because of the wind. I'm outside because it's so beautiful out.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, could be.
Should
Could
I
be.
try to go inside, or
Doesn't sound like wind, but
what about now? Is there anything happening now?
right now it's good.
Okay. You let me know. If it happens again, I'll just go inside and we'll figure something out.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I know it's annoying when the audio is not good. So let's see. So yeah, so we just like flirted through Facebook, and then we had a show New Year's Eve that same year. And then after that, he just said a couple cute things where I was like, and what's funny is there was another comic on the show. I don't know if you've met Marta Chavez. Have
Yeah.
you
Oh,
met her?
thank you.
Okay.
I've heard a lot about her.
Yeah. So she was on the show and she said to Julian, she said, I think Jennifer likes you because she's not always that nice to people. I was like, thanks. I
Oh,
guess
that's
what a way to
funny.
find out I'm a bitch. Okay. And he was like, really? No. Like, he was like, no, she's not going to like me. But anyway, then we just, yeah, messaged back and forth. And then I was in town again. Like, I was talking about the debaters before, but there was a debaters happening in Ottawa shortly after that New Year's Eve. And in between, we were just sending each other messages, and he would act cool, like he's since told me that he would send me messages and then I would send them back, but he would wait like a long time to read them so that it didn't look like he was sitting there waiting for my messages, but he was just waiting for my messages. And I'm like,
Aw.
I figured, because he was new to town, new to Ottawa. He's originally from New Brunswick, and he was staying with family in the beginning to figure out finding a place and get established in the city. And I knew that he didn't have much going on. Like, I knew looking back, I'm like, come on, Mr. Cool, trying to play it cool.
How long would
And
he wait?
like sometimes he would wait like a whole, I say I would send it in the morning on a Tuesday. He would wait until Wednesday night to read it. And I'm like, come on.
Whoa, okay, that's too long, I think.
I
That's
know.
overkill.
I know. He was just trying to be really desirable, I guess. Like, oh my God, he's so busy.
But that
That
was like
whole, I don't know if I can have him because he's just so busy.
exactly, yeah. But that was back when social media messaging was different. It was still new,
True.
so yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't on your phone at any second. It was like you had to actually go on your laptop and
Did you ever get to the point where you were like sexting?
we didn't really like, well, that's not true. Of course, when we started, like before anything happened, it was still very like coy. Like we were both quite shy about whether anything was actually going to happen, but we both knew that we liked each other and were interested in each other, but no one was like pulling the trigger, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not overly like I'm not a prude, but I'm not that kind of a person that would go like I'm not, and of course, no judgment. I'm actually jealous of people that are really comfortable doing that, but I'm not outwardly like verbally or text. Like I'm not overly, what's the word? Like expressive that way, especially out of the gates. Like I just wouldn't do that. And
Yes.
and I swear it's not prude. It's more like I'm just a little bit shy about that in the beginning, especially.
Yeah, and some people feel more comfortable being expressive by text, and some people it's just like they're very, very to the point with text.
Hmm.
And yeah, it sounds like maybe you guys were at the point where it was like, should I risk a heart emoji?
Oh gosh, yeah, it wasn't at that point yet. He was really nervous. I know he was really nervous because he wasn't sure and I wasn't sure. And yeah, it was all that unsure. And I think also it didn't help that I didn't live in the same city. So, and I mean,
Mm.
the other thing is like, I could picture myself in his shoes. Usually, the men are typically, in my experience, men are the ones that initiate, um, usually.
Mhm.
But like for him, it might have been a little weird because I was a very established comedian who was coming into town and he was just starting in his comedy. So like I'm picturing me like starting out in comedy. I'd be quite nervous. Like even just being around, I was really nervous being around experienced comedians.
Mhm.
Like I would be nervous to approach one. I don't know. Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so I'm curious, how was that
Hmm.
for you then, dating someone who was new to comedy? Because a lot of people say, like, I don't want to date someone who's like just starting comedy, or I don't want my girlfriend or boyfriend to start doing comedy because then it's like, well, there's a lot of reasons why that could go sideways. So how did that feel for you?
Well, a lot of people in the beginning were like, is he funny? And I'm like, well, obviously, because I couldn't date someone who wasn't funny. I mean, that would be really hard. I would find that the hardest, especially if you
Mm.
really like them or fell in love with them and then they weren't funny. But I don't think I would have gotten to the point where I would have big feelings for someone if they weren't funny, because that's like an important part of the package. So I was okay with it. And I think the reason that it worked for us was because I was so much more experienced and he was less experienced. Now it's leveled out because we've both been doing it a really long time. So when we first met, I had been doing stand up for, I don't know, like 10 years, 11 years, and he had been doing it for 2 years. So it's such
Mm.
different ballparks, you know what I mean? Like it would be one thing. I have I've dated a comedian before that where we were closer in experience levels, and I found that our personalities, I don't know, maybe there was a little bit more of a competitive vibe,
Yeah, I
and
was wondering
and
about that.
yeah, and a resentment when you saw, like, I didn't, but I remember feeling like this person will, like a tinge of not being happy for me if I book something. Just a tinge.
Mm, yeah, I imagine that's the case a lot with comedians who are on the same level in a couple. There's some
Hmm.
jealousy, like a little bit of competitiveness, maybe.
Exactly. Which, I think that's when it doesn't work. But if you are with someone, like from day one, I felt that Julian was confident enough to be able to, it didn't define him. When you're friends with somebody who's genuinely happy for you when you succeed,
Yeah.
they're not defined by, like, if you do well, it doesn't mean they're shitty or whatever. They're genuinely okay with themselves and their path. So when something good happens to you, they don't go, well, why didn't I get it? they're
Hmm.
they're like okay with who they are, and they know that there's space for everyone kind of thing. And he's been like that from the beginning, really, like truly he's a confident person who's grounded.
Well, that's good. That's so important, especially if you're someone who has big ambitions. You know, you don't want to feel held back.
Totally.
So, okay, how did things then transition into an actual relationship?
So we back and forth, Facebook, and then did the debaters recording that night. And then that's when it finally did, because it, you know, that moment where you just have to like take the chance and kiss someone.
Yeah.
So that's what he finally did. And I know you like, it just took a long time, but finally it happened. And I was just, I guess maybe I think Marta is a little bit right. Like I might come across as a bit standoffish sometimes, even when I do like someone. I don't really know. Maybe I need some therapy for that. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but I guess I hold, in some ways I hold my cards close to my chest, and I also wear my heart on my sleeve. So I think it's hard for people to pick up what message I'm sending.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up by a British English woman who does not show any emotion. So maybe that had a bit of an effect on me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So when he went to kiss you, were you kind of like eek, or were you like just okay, yes, I'm ready?
I was just, of course, like heart pounding, kind of nervous, but yeah, I was definitely ready, and I knew that it was going to get to that point, you know. So yeah, so it was great.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
good. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to first kisses, I just like my inclination is to just like look away, or even if I want them to kiss me, I'm like,
I
ah.
know, it's so true. Like it's so intense.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such an intense moment. And you don't know. It's funny because we've been together, you know, 12 years now, and you don't know that that first kiss is going to be the beginning of something where you'll end up getting engaged and married and everything. You know, it's like a pretty monumental moment.
Right. You didn't know it then, but now, like, especially now that you're
Yeah.
engaged, it's like
Mm-hmm.
a special moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've been together 12 years. I'm sure you've addressed this in your comedy. So what took so long with the engagement?
I know, right? Well, we had talked about it, and I don't know, I guess there was no big, like, I truly believe that if I really, really, it was important to me, like pressing to get married, we would have done it by now. But well, I only say that because I have friends who, the reason that it's happened is either A, they want to have children and it's important for them to be married before they get to have children. From the get-go, Julian and I both discussed that we both didn't want kids. So we knew that that wasn't uh, that wasn't something we wanted. So there's less pressure for that part. Not everybody cares about that, but some people do. The
Hmm.
other thing is that I don't like. I have a friend who was like, yeah, I bugged him all the time. Like I really had to like light a fire under his butt to do it. Like I had to, and I didn't do that with Julian. I didn't do
Yeah.
that. I
Which makes it
didn't
less,
care that much.
yeah, it makes it less romantic when you've been pressuring them to do it. It's like
Yeah,
in Ali Wong's stand up, she has a bit about how, like, I had an inkling he was going to propose because I was pressuring him to do it for years.
yeah, exactly. Like I didn't want that to be part of the story of the proposal. So how did he propose? Well, I nagged him for 5 years and he finally did it. No,
Mhm.
it just got to the point where like we both knew we wanted it, but it started to get weird that it wasn't happening. Like it's like, okay, I just said to him, like, if you know, I don't really care, but if it is going to happen, it's weird if it's not going to happen soon, because it's just like, why isn't it? Like, if we want to do it, then why aren't you doing it? And I think it's literally, I think it's actually a bit of a case of putting it off kind of thing. Cause you know, I'm guilty of that too sometimes, procrastinating and putting things off. And it can easily be something you put on the back burner when you've got other things, deadlines and taxes to do and all these other things in life. And then you're just like, oh yeah, I got to do that as well. I don't know. I think it was something like that, really, as simple as that.
Absolutely. And you guys were committed to each other. You live together. You're like making plans together. So,
Yeah, we bought a
um,
house together, which is
yeah.
arguably more of a commitment than,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Well, recently I did a podcast episode about COVID engagements because I noticed a lot of people have gotten engaged over the lockdown, which I thought was interesting.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering, like, do you think that this year of craziness had an impact at all on like feeling more pressed to get engaged now or how it unfolded?
It's a good question. Like, I wonder if it would have happened whether it was COVID or not.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, like it's been such a crazy year. It's a good question. I don't know. It's like we're locked down, so let's lock it in. I don't know. I'm
Exactly.
not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like, well, I could say this: when we first started going out, we would be on the road together, and he said that that was a good test for whether we would kind of sustain a relationship with spending lots of time together in a hotel on the road. Like on the road is very like intimate, and you spend a lot of time with the other person in that hotel room.
Mm.
And so maybe subliminally, or I should say not subliminally, subconsciously, maybe that was like this past year has been an exaggerated version of that because it's just been us in the house. And if you're not wanting to kill the other person, maybe that's just further affirmation that, you might be able to tolerate them for the rest of your life. I don't know.
That makes sense. It does.
Tolerate. Tolerate. That's so romantic. I can tolerate you. You make me so happy because I can tolerate you.
Mhm. So romantic.
I know.
I've always thought that there are, well, now I think there's three. Before it was two. So traveling with someone is a test of a relationship. Like
Yep.
if you're not right for
100%.
each other and you travel together, you'll see it. You'll really see it.
Very true.
Yeah, which is I guess kind of similar to the touring together.
Yes.
And then cooking together, which is only applies if you actually cook. But I think even if neither of you cook, but you try to cook together, like it's just really telling, like, can you work together?
That's
Does
true.
does someone get too bossy? Is the other person just like too dumb? Like they can't peel a potato and you're just like, my God.
Hmm.
Um, and then now I think the third thing is can you survive a pandemic together?
Yeah, it's true. I've heard can you make a bed together? Like making a bed together with the fitted sheets and you have to work together to fluff up the duvet and place it down. And yeah, I think it's very true. There's lots of little things like that. So I don't know, maybe it did have an effect. Like maybe it's also not much going on, so it makes it more um monumental, more powerful, more. It's also because we haven't had much good news, and maybe subconsciously that was a motivation, like let's bring some like positivity and brightness into our lives by doing this. A lot of people have
Absolutely.
said that to us. A lot of people have said like this is so nice to have something to look forward to, like your wedding, and it's
Mm.
nice to hear some good news. And mhm.
How did you celebrate afterwards?
How did we celebrate? You know what? We didn't do much because we couldn't do much because of the pandemic, but we do have some really awesome, amazing friends, a couple, and they made us this gourmet dinner and put it all in these like in this care package, warmed it up, like made this, I'm talking like delicious, delicious meal. these special potatoes. They were like scalloped potatoes, but like a little fancier. They
Mm.
made like some grilled steaks and some like balsamic Brussels sprouts,
Wow.
and actually she made like a lemon pie, and it was so good, and
Aw.
with like her own whipped cream and everything, and like sent it with these little ginger beers, like those really nice ginger beers, and all in like this cooler package, and it was just like we were so blown away by that. And I think that's when we realized, oh yeah, we're kind of, I think the reason they're doing this is because it's like people might have felt a little bit bad for us because we couldn't have our, proper celebration of engagement. Like, here, let's try to make this special,
That's so sweet.
for
That's
them.
really thoughtful of them.
Oh, I
So sweet.
was absolutely blown away by that. I'm like, oof, man, now that's the next level of what we expect from friends. Come on. Come on, guys. The rest of you these people are putting you to shame, the
Yeah,
rest of our
absolutely.
friends. Come on.
I'm thinking like, oh, should I have done that when my friends got engaged? Like, I didn't know you were supposed to do something so thoughtful.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. Oh my God, I was blown away. It's delicious.
All right. So one last question before we move on to the rapid fire questions.
Oh, rapid fire.
Yeah, they're not that rapid. Um, but yeah. I was wondering, it sounds like you and Julian got together when you were fairly young, like
hmm
early 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah, around that. No, it was later than that. It was early 30s.
Okay, you look a lot younger than you are, I think. Because I'm
Thank
like, I
you.
thought you were in your 30s.
Oh, well, yeah, never mind. We got together when I was 25.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, because I was wondering if you dated a lot before him.
Not too much. I was kind of one of those classic serial monogamists,
Oh, yeah.
the classic.
Yeah, so you'd have like 2 or 3 year relationships.
Yeah, or even longer. The one right before that was 4 years. The one before that was 2 years. So, yeah.
And were you, because I know a lot of women when they reach their 30s and they haven't like locked it down, which is, I mean, nowadays that just, you don't need to lock something down. But if they haven't met someone that they can see a future with, they start to get nervous. Were you at that point like really looking for someone who was, like your life partner?
Not at all. But I have to say that I do think that I've always been the type that doesn't waste time necessarily with someone that I couldn't see myself being in a relationship with. And it's less really conscious. I think it's just my personality type. Like, I'm a relationship kind of person. Like, I most of the time in my life, like, there's been times where I've just decided to have fun and date around, but mostly I am someone who really just is with someone because I can picture it going the distance,
Hmm.
or at least trying to do that, or that's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
end goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Like, I have
important.
friends that don't do that at all. Like, they don't want to, they're not interested in that. They just want to have fun, which I totally get too. But I think it's really just my personality.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be in it, you want it to be something real and like you can actually see a future.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Hmm.
But having said that, I wasn't on a hunt for a husband. I have had a very unconventional life compared to most of the people that I went to high school with, and people that I know that aren't in comedy. I feel like comedy has made my life. Maybe that's, why I look younger. It's kept
Hmm.
me young. It's kept me young. It's made me think like shoot for the stars. It's made me feel like I don't need to define myself by my age, and I don't need a husband. I don't need to have children. I don't need to subscribe to what the status quo is.
Mm-hmm.
I can just do what I want.
I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I
I
have,
really truly believe that. Like, I really truly believe that. And I do actually think comedians and artists always look younger unless they've been extremely unhealthy in their life. Like, even then though, there's just something very youthful about someone who doesn't give a shit about what you're supposed to do.
it's true. It's true. I think when you get into that like midlife slump, not even a slump that starts like once you enter your career that you're staying in, and it's like an office job, 9 to 5, and then it's like the obligations pile up and pile up, and then
Yeah, it's true.
it's like a life of shoulds. Yeah, you can really
Yeah.
see that in someone's face.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And yeah, I really truly believe, like, it's hard for me to hang out with people I knew in high school because most of them have kind of what you just described. I can't relate to them. So I just
Yeah.
can't. I just can't. I find it depressing, actually.
Mm.
I find it depressing hanging out with people that I think there's a little piece of you dies when you decide to just stay in a job because it's secure. And even though you'd love to do something else, like, it has an effect on you. I think we all know that. I'm not saying
Yeah.
anything profound here, but you can, I mean, how can I hang out with somebody who it's hard for me to relate to that.
Absolutely. And I really felt that when I moved back to Ottawa because I lived in BC for 10 years in Nanaimo, and it's a different vibe there. It's like a much more free, hippie vibe.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then coming back, I just felt the weight of conservative Ottawa and people who were more in that mindset of like government job and like just a very, very structured and restrictive way of living. And then
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was so hard for me to continue being me and feel passionate because I just felt pulled into that and like, oh, I guess I should be like this too.
You're absolutely right. And it's like hard to when you're an adult, but you feel that way. Like, not many people think that way. So it's hard to find your people. It's hard to find your tribe. It's like, where are those people that are like me? Like,
Hmm.
so many people I know are like you say, oh, I've got this and I've got that and got should, and this is the way I am because I'm this age, and this, I don't know, it's just weird to me because I feel amazing. I don't feel like I'm in my, over 40. Like, I don't feel that at all. But I think the more you tell yourself, well, I'm 40 now, so I can't exercise the way I used to, or whatever, it's
Yes.
like, then you are that because you keep saying that. And I know maybe people would think that's just lip service or just talking, but it's actually true. The more you
Absolutely.
tell yourself what you are, that's what you are. And I don't want to subscribe to that. I don't believe it. And I find it depressing. But it's like, where are the people that are shoot for the stars kind of people? Like, that's the thing. How do you find, it's kind of like people that are single and trying to date, like, other than online or the apps. Like, where do you find the people that are like you? You just have to, I guess you just have to keep on doing your thing, and then you'll attract them. Or
Yeah, I found once I just became more bold about doing my thing, then I attracted them, and also like through comedy, that's when I started meeting people. And like it's within the community too for finding your people
mm-hmm.
because it's a big community.
Yep, very
But
true.
going back to you kind of speak into life whatever you say.
Yes.
I believe that too, and that's why I rarely will share my age. And people think it's like I'm trying to be coy and like hide my age because I'm ashamed. But I actually, some expert, some like female guru, wrote a book on aging, and she said, you should try and forget your age and not say your age. Just tell people you're ageless because exactly what you're saying. You have associations with certain ages,
Mm-hmm.
people think, oh, I'm 40 now. So that means my joints are going to go and I should look like this, you know? So you should just
Hmm.
forget about it and not identify with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's weird. I feel like people rob themselves of so much life when they do that. I feel like I was listening to an interview with Oprah was interviewing Sharon Stone, and she was talking about how they were talking about how like when you're 40, that's when you really get powerful, and Hollywood tells you you're less powerful because people are scared of your power at 40. It's
Mm.
and I thought, oh, that's interesting, kind of like, you know, taking away what could be intimidating by telling them they're not worthy, when that's when they're the most powerful of their lives. And I was listening to how she was saying when she's 60, she turned 60. And then I Googled Oprah, and Oprah's 67, which I was really surprised about.
Wow.
She looks amazing. And she was saying the same thing, like then 60 is another threshold. It's another chapter that then you really know who you are, and you don't subscribe to all the other things that would make you doubt yourself, and you're just so much more confident and self-assured and everything. And yeah, so I'm like you too, and I would like to know what book that is. I'm interested in reading it.
Yeah, I was trying to remember her name. I think it's Marianne something. She wrote the book Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom. Have you heard of
Okay.
that? It's kind of
No, I haven't.
she's a doctor, but she's a little woo-woo.
Is
So
it Marianne Williamson?
the woman who came up with this idea of, or who was saying that you should forget your age, is Christiane Northrup.
Okay.
Christiane Northrup. All right, so let's move on to the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I sure am. Maybe let me stretch first. Okay. Okay, now I'm good. I got my quads stretched. I'm ready.
Nice. What's one thing you would tell your 18-year-old self?
Oh, this is just the first thing that comes to mind, but it's the classic stop doubting yourself and stop thinking that you need to lose weight, because you don't. You look great. Don't worry about it. It
Mm.
doesn't matter. Stop worrying about these kinds of things, because it's one of the best times of your life. Enjoy life.
Yes. Oh gosh, that time is such a time of self-doubt.
I know. And
Okay.
it's such a great time.
Yeah, it should be.
Should be.
If you could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
These questions are supposed to be fast, but it's hard to
That's why I say sort of rapid fire.
yeah, exactly. Well, uh I I'm watching Outlander right now, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's amazing. And it takes place in two different time periods. It's a long story. I don't want to ruin anything for you if you haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh, you should watch it.
Okay.
But there's a setting in it that's in 1700s, so I think it would be really cool to talk to anyone really in that time, especially someone like a woman in the 1700s, because it's crazy how women were treated back then, like property, and like they weren't important, and when they got married they were sold as like they're just complete objects. And
Mhm.
maybe I don't know, just get an idea and interview them. Who else?
Yeah, that would be
I
interesting.
I think it would be really interesting. It's a really good it's a hard question. That's like saying to when people are like, what's your favorite music? I'm like, I don't
Ugh.
even know.
Yeah, that's such a hard question.
Dead or alive? Let me think about it. I think it would be really cool. I mean, the list would be long for me, but these are just for some reason what's popping into my head right now. I think that I've always thought it would be really cool to talk to Phyllis Diller or some of the pioneer women comics, because I can't imagine how hard it must have been for them back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And because sexism still exists now, and that I don't know when Phyllis Diller started, but it was a long time ago, and just how she had to downplay her looks in order to be accepted as a funny person. So her whole angle was, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly.
Right.
And to talk to her or Lucille Ball just to see what it was like back then to be breaking into it, and to be a pioneer and challenge all of those norms. I think that would be really cool.
And they probably just have such interesting personalities too. They probably did.
Oh yeah. And I used to think before the scandal happened with Michael Jackson, I always thought I would have liked to have interviewed him or to talk to him, because he was such a unique person and everything. Actually, even now it would be kind of cool to talk to him and understand, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd still be interesting to talk to him.
To know what made him tick, if you could have a real honest conversation with him about his life. And he's just he didn't even seem like human at the end, it's so strange.
So true. True.
So those are just some thoughts, just some people that come to mind, but I'm sure the list would be like 100 long at least if I had more time to think about it. But those are the things that came to mind.
Yeah, I like those answers. What is one of your secret skills or talents?
Oh, I can wiggle my ears.
Oh, nice.
Secret talent. I've did gymnastics when I was a kid, so I haven't done it in a while, but I used to be able to do back handsprings many in a row.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do the splits or anything gymnastic-y?
Yeah, I still can't get down to a full split now, but I used to all the time. And when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, so I used to do like the back handsprings in front of the pyramids type thing. What else can I do?
That's
I'm really good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like a lot of people in acting and comedy have a background in dance. Yeah,
makes sense.
Rochelle Ellie.
Oh yes.
My friend Alice Anderson, who's been on the podcast. And just like if you look at female comedians who just you see them dancing for a movie, like Amy Schumer. I don't know if you remember her dance scenes in two of her movies.
Yeah, she's good.
She's a really good dancer.
Yeah, she is. Have you ever seen that video of hers where she's like, how does it? It's like a rap. Oh, that's my dog. He just came outside.
This is when my poo comes out. Is it
yes, that one? Oh my God. It's really funny. Yes. I really like Amy Schumer. Like I wasn't sure about her years, like maybe 5 years ago, but now I find I really like her. I think she's using her fame for like important reasons, getting important messages out, but she's really funny and very smart.
I really like her too. And I like the combination of things that she does, that she had her show and she's written movies and does stand up and does all these things. I think that's really cool.
For sure.
What was the last show you binged?
Oh, well, I'm currently doing Outlander, but before that it was The One. Did you watch The One? That's a relationship. It's totally relationship related material here. That the show is about the one. The concept is so cool. You could picture it being pitched in a meeting and they'd say, oh yeah, let's do this show, because it's some scientists figure out how to find your perfect match through DNA, where you have no choice, but you will fall in love with this person based on your DNA matching with theirs.
I've seen the trailer for that on Netflix, and I thought it looked interesting, but I thought like it looks like it gets dark.
It is a little dark, but I think it's definitely worth a go. I don't like dark things either, but it did get a little dark, but I did watch that. It was good. And another one is Downton Abbey. People had told me to watch it forever. And then I was like, I don't know. And then I finally watched it and I loved it. I loved it. Have you seen it?
Weird. Everyone loves it. And you're like, but describing it, you're like, this sounds horrible.
Oh, it sounds like history. It sounds like history class, like work, like homework or something. No, it's so good. Like, because you think, well, it can't be that good if everyone's like the costumes. It's like the costumes do not make a good show. It's just icing on the cake of a good show. I,
Mm.
I mean, I know it's important. I know it's very beautiful, but if your selling point is their outfits or their wardrobe is really great, I'm like, that's not selling me because I need more than wardrobe, you know? But it's excellent.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
No, no. And it's been a while since it was at its peak popularity, so I haven't heard about it in a while. But
True. And we watched Sopranos too. That's an old show. Julian had never seen it. I saw it like a long time ago. Probably too young to appreciate it. What an excellent show too. Like, and it stands the test of time. Julian's like, this is my favorite show of all time. Like, it's so good. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, if a zombie apocalypse broke out right now, what would be your course of action? Like, just say you're where you are. What would you do?
Oh my God. Nightmare. Nightmare. I guess, I mean, this is a boring answer, but I get in my car and drive. Even though there's zombies everywhere, I just feel like I could lock the car and hopefully they couldn't get in. I don't know. Be on the move.
You'd be on the move, like no set destination in mind.
Like where I would go. Well, I guess I would go. My instinct would tell me to go to New Brunswick. I don't know why. It's because Julian and I own a bunch of land there. So maybe we just go there and build a zombie proof cabin. Hidden cabin in the woods in lots of in the middle of all the acres. Just can't just do it. That sounds pretty cozy.
Yeah, that's a good plan. And that's definitely one of the routes you can take in a zombie apocalypse. Just go somewhere rural, remote, and just live a life.
Yeah, that's my gut. My gut tells me to go there. Live off the land.
Nice. Final question. What would you want your tombstone to say?
Oh my goodness. Maybe something like I was in denial. I'm kind of like the age thing, right? I'm in denial I'll ever die. I'm in denial that I'm aging.
Yeah,
or ever gonna die.
That could be a lot of things. In denial about anything in life, your relationship, about just life itself.
Yeah, that's what I would put.
Nice. All right. Well, it's been so good chatting with you. Thanks so much for being on the pod.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. It was nice chatting with you too. And
this episode of Michaela Up Close was written by me, Michaela Chung, and Daniel Oriah. If you like this episode, please do rate it on Apple iTunes and subscribe wherever you're listening. All right, catch you on the next episode.